Let's see. Let's see. With the index, I will do that. Teresa?
Yes?
Timekeeper, can you check timekeeping?
Okay.
Teresa, good. Teresa, you will have Anything else? I think we are there. We can now go to our
Did you say we're going to start check-ins?
we want yeah, through the position setup, I think we're on a check-in.
Cool.
All right, guys. So,
can someone tell me the to join us? Yeah, I see him there. Okay, Asif, go on.
All right, guys, I welcome you all to the Saturn session. And, as Lucy told before, as she was explaining that it's happening in more details, we will go in the session as well. As Jay will explain about it, it is happening after 14 years. So let's begin our check-in. And yeah, Teresa, can you please start?
So, hello everyone. So for me, it's the first time. I'm really excited for this session. For me, it's 6.5. Yeah.
All right, Lucy, can you please check in?
I'm very happy to join this session that happened once. At least after 14 years. Yeah, I'm glad for this.
Lucy, can you check in, please?
Yes. Actually, I'm glad for the sessions. Yeah. And I'm at 6.
Great. We have seen that Albina is also online with us now. Albina, can you check in, please?
Yeah, I'm glad to be in the session, Saturn session. It is so good for me. And I'm 7 today, ready for the session. Thank you all.
Okay, Maddie, can you please check in?
Can I? Okay. It is a very good evening now, and I think that it will be a great session to know about new things and new experience.
Hello?
Yeah, Jay, can you please check in?
Okay. So probably around it's early in the morning, about 4 in the morning or so here, and I'd say that it is exciting that it's the Saturn session. It is kind of sad that we didn't do some of the basic outreach and actually connect people into it, but that's okay. We'll just do our best and go from there. And yeah, I think that's
duplicate from the Google core team prioritization spreadsheet for this Saturn session.
if you want to do that, we could.
Yeah, we can do that.
What is that? Is that what everybody wants to do?
Yeah.
You want to do what, Apr?
For the Saturn session, we see that
Can you even see it?
prioritization spreadsheet for Saturn session, right?
He's talking about creating a prioritization spreadsheet for us right now. I mean, if that's what everyone wants to do, we could, but otherwise we can just talk about it together and discuss, what we want to work on.
Okay.
For me, I think we should talk about and verbally, start sorting out the things for design outcomes and all that.
Say that again, let's see.
I'm saying that can we just talk and verbally, can we just talk about it?
Okay, I mean, I think that's fine. I mean, we already have the global core team priorities from the new moon. So let's just finish our 5 minutes so we can, everyone should be taking this time to write down and prioritize their own list of what they think would be the most important things to discuss. And also you could be thinking about, you know, goals for the next 10 years, 15 years. And then you can also do evaluation if you'd like.
We have Jessica with us. Can she check in?
Sorry, I have a question.
Okay.
What is the document to fill out? Because I'm not sure which one it is, because there's maybe I'm watching the wrong documents. Evaluation prioritizations.
Oh, yeah. Don't use the global team prioritization spreadsheet. That's already done, so we don't need to reprioritize it.
So which document are you using to?
Well, we didn't create one because no one set it up for the Saturn session, so we would just.
We can discuss on.
Yeah, we can just discuss it, but we have also the new moon session that we can consider. Okay. So does anyone need more time for their thoughts and goals for the next 4 or 5 years, and also the evaluation and prioritization? Are you guys ready to move forward?
I think Abdul said he's going to create one. Abdul. Abdul?
Yes, Lucy, can you hear me?
You say you want to create one of the prioritization spreadsheet. Are you doing that now?
I mean, I think we should just use the one that we have from the global core team priorities. I think that should be fine.
Yeah.
From the new moon.
From the new moon.
Yeah, I think we can use the global core team prioritization spreadsheet.
We could pull out things that we want to go over. So, anyway, so what? Unless people know what they're doing, let's see how many people we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
1, 2, 3.
10. All right, we have 10 people. All right, so we should go ahead and break up into groups, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So that is good. So let's do the main group. Okay. And Asif, you're helping facilitate too, right? So second group with Asif, right? So Asif, you can be the runner. Does that sound good?
Yes.
And
Yes, sounds good.
you have Abdul, and over here we can have Joseph. Why don't we keep Lucy here, and then we'll have Mahidi, and Teresa can go with Asif. And I don't know, does this look good? 1, 2, 3, 4. Albina can go with Asif, and Joyce can go with Asif, and we can have Jessica. How's that look?
I think Asif is 2 times, no? That is Albina. Ah, okay, Albina.
Does that look good?
Okay.
Okay.
So let's see if you're going to go to the secondary hangout.
Okay.
Let's see if you're there.
We are going on the 8th hangout.
8th hangout. Okay.
All right, guys, we should
Okay,
pick up
let's
and
go.
thank you.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
we'll move to
And
8th hangout. Thank
just
you.
duplicate it, and let's use the new moon session for communication. I think that would be the easiest one.
All right, guys, bye.
Okay, bye.
I guess you could start a Saturn. If someone wants to start a Saturn group, we could do a Saturn group. So here I can link the Saturn Skype group here. All right, so let's see if we have the right group here. It looks good. All right, so let's go over our desired outcomes. So is there any particular desired outcomes that anyone has? I guess generally for me it would be like, to learn about Saturn Session some, and then also, to brainstorm goals for, 14, 15 years. Long-term goals. It's even hard to even know how to do that. And what else? Maybe any other desired outcomes from anyone would like to get out of the session?
I don't have one.
It could be anything.
I don't know what are we basing on, especially for this session.
Basing what on? For what's it? What's it?
Our discussions or any other desired outcome that we have.
Okay, so this is the time to talk about the desired outcomes and topics. So if you have any topic you want to bring up or you have any desired outcome, you can bring up anything you want.
The topic, plasma.
Plasma? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 minutes?
Yeah, we can you discuss the team equity?
Team and network equity, that would be good. Cool. Any other topics that people want? I have, we could quickly go through the methodology vote, go over what the Saturn session is, where we are now. Be sure to link. Where we are now, maybe, and then where we want to be in 14 years, right? So Plasmo, team network equity. I think it looks pretty good. Other topics? Potentially we could go through the budget income for the month, review where we are with the budget method, and then go more into our methods. and continue from like the new moon session. We had some next steps and things that we wanted to continue with. But we don't have to do all that stuff. Any other topics or desired outcomes?
No, from my side.
Was that James? Go check in, James.
Yes, sure. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Hello, guys. How are you doing? My name is James. For those who don't know, I've been away for a while. I was sick, and I've spent almost months in the hospital, so I'm just like getting my life back. So I got a notification. I opened my mail and checked that there was a session today, and I decided to check.
Great.
I'm Matu.
Cool. Well, we're very happy to have you. Let's see. Oh, cool. You're adding in Jake. Great. So, do we have a timekeeper here? And we also need a runner. Can we get a timekeeper and a runner? Teresa. Okay, great. And then does someone want to be a runner? Maybe you, Lucy. Do you want to do running?
Okay.
Okay, cool. So we'll mention to them that Lucy is our runner. Okay. So so how do people feel about these agenda items? Or James, do you have any other desired outcomes or agenda topics that you want to discuss?
For me, not really.
Okay, so what we have so far is like we go through our methodology vote. What is the Saturn session? Where we are now, where we want to be in 14 years. Plasmo, team and network equity. And then we could, potentially get into what we were doing at the new moon session, and then we'd be good. So, does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Cool. All right. So, Lucy, can you let the other group know that we just approved that there's no objections to, unless there are objections to our topics and desired outcomes. Okay.
Yeah. Did they have the same desired outcome that we have now?
They can create their own. They can have different ones if they want. They should just be sure to, do a round of brainstorming on the next 14, 50 years, have a broader discussion. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. All right, so let's get started then. So let's start with the methodology vote. We don't have the global doc here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to link the global doc. Yeah, and let them know we're starting our first topic, which is the methodology vote. Here you go. So here's the methodology proposal. So the proposal is to approve the Unity methodology and all related Unity policies, protocols, guidelines, systems, and processes. We've actually been doing a lot of updates to a lot of our policies and protocols. So it'll be good for us all to go through and approve that. Cool. So the way we like to think about it is it's like our terms of involvement, you know, that everybody agrees to the same rules and the same processes and that we're all here to work together as a team and support each other. So let's start with me. I vote yes. Are there any, oh wait, we gotta go through questions. Questions about the proposal and or concerns? Okay, so probably
no question.
Yeah. Abdul, you want to vote next?
Hello, Dave. Can you share your screen on YouTube recording?
I thought on the recording or?
But not share your screen on recording.
Okay, there we go. I got it. Thanks. So Abdul, do you want to vote on the methodology proposal?
Yeah, my vote is yes.
Okay. Jessica?
Yes.
Do you vote yes? Do you agree to the terms of involvement in the Unity methodology?
Yeah.
Hello? Jessica, are you there?
Yeah. Yes, I'm here.
Do you agree to the Unity methodology?
Yeah, I agree.
You agree? Okay, cool. Lucy?
Yes, Jen. I just voted for that.
And how did you vote?
I take down the after Jessica.
Okay, but can you just verbally state how you want to vote? Do you agree or yes or?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I agree.
Yeah, when you just get on the line, you say yes, Jay. It doesn't quite. I mean, people say yes, Jay, constantly all the time, and doesn't mean a lot. All right. So Mahidi and James.
I vote yes.
Thank you. That's perfect. See how we understand exactly what James says because he said I vote yes. Boom, we understand it. Mahidi.
Yes, I'm also yes.
Yes. Okay. Cool. So, anyways, we just make sure that people agree to the methodology proposal. It's super quick and easy. I think we're ready to move on. So let's go on to the next topic, which is about the Saturn session. Cool. And it's important to know, I just want to remind everyone that we're, not doing the network equity because we still haven't met all of our goals of like actually doing outreach for the Saturn session. Hopefully we'll get better at that in the future. So for me, the easiest way to talk about the Saturn session is to understand all the sessions that lead up to the Saturn session. But we can talk about the Saturn session for a little bit. It happens every 14.8 years. This is the aphelion. Aphelion is the moment in space-time where Saturn is the furthest from the sun. Does that make sense? So in about 14.8 more years from this moment, Saturn will be the closest to the sun, which is actually a little more exciting. And that's called the perihelion. So the best way to think about the Saturn session in terms of our experimentation, so this is part of the FQN, is the frequency quantified network, and trying to rethink our time frames in synchronization with the solar system and the planets and our natural time cycles. And so the Saturn session will happen about 4 to 5 times per in someone's lifetime. So there's not a lot of Saturn sessions that happen. From there, Jupiter happens every 6 years, so it'll be 10 to 20. sessions per life. It's a lot more often. Whereas if you go to the next planet, which is Uranus, right? That's only going to be about one to two times per lifetime. So if you think about that, Saturn session is really the last planet that we would experience as a regularly occurring time cycle in our lives for organizing across the world based on our whole methodology and time cycles. So the next planet is it would only happen every 42 years. So Uranus is once every 42 years. So it's just exponentially less often. So that's pretty much it. That it's just good to note that Saturn, even though it's every 14.8 years, it's kind of like the last planetary time cycle that we will be doing on a regular basis as far as multiple times in your life. And then that Uranus, there will be people who never do a Uranus session because they simply aren't alive during the Uranus session, or maybe they just do it once in their life. I mean, that's it. It's just one time. So the Uranus session rarely represents a lifetime, a generation. Like that's it. The Uranus session represents what we package together and send off to the next group of citizens on the planet. Whereas the Saturn session is really the last session where we actually are thinking about it in terms of our lives, because there's a good chance we'll be around in another 14, 15 years. Okay? That make sense?
Yes.
Cool. So from there, after you go to Uranus, you hit Neptune. Neptune's the last large planet. Neptune is once every 82 years. And so that would be like, 0 to 1 times per life. So that, there's plenty of people who don't live to 82 years. So you kind of hit or miss or whether or not people would actually be around for that. Coolio. So in terms of just like regular context of organizing, the Ceres session, which is the next one after Jupiter. So the Ceres session, oh no, please don't delete, is once every 2 years. And that happens actually in a couple days from now. And so the Ceres session is exciting. And we will be doing, this is what we would call our Legion meeting. This is the Ceres session. We're set up, the F-Concu network is set up as a Legion, like basically everybody in the Legion can vote and elect and create our priorities as an organization and a network. And then the Mars session, which is every year, once per year, this happens this is our membership meeting. Okay, so everything beyond the Ceres session, which includes the Jupiter session every 6 years, and then you have the Saturn session after the Jupiter, and then Uranus, Neptune. All of those would be considered, beyond Legion meetings, right? Or really, there would be more like events. Okay. So if we had put in the work, we easily could have had 100, 50, 100 people here today. It would have been pretty easy to do that, but we didn't, which is fine. But in the future, hopefully we can expand out our sessions, and especially for the important ones like the Saturn session and the Jupiter session. So we should already be planning for the next Jupiter session, and then also other planetary sessions coming up. So I think that's pretty much it. Are there any questions? In the membership meeting, like everybody can attend the membership meeting, and the membership is appointing the Bouncil meeting, which is the Earth session. the Bouncil meeting, and then this is only Bouncil members, workers, etc. So yeah, and then from there you have Venus. Venus is like, this is twice a year, 2x per year. Venus is 3x per year. This is our executive meetings. And then you have the Mercury session, which is the management. And this is about 8 times per year. So that kind of gives us a sense of our structure and how the the Saturn session fits into the overall structure and what we're doing here. And the goal is really to just have an open discussion on, where do we really want to be in about 15 years. That's really the goal. So if we could, have an idea, not just for ourselves, but to really think of where we want to see our global community evolve to and how we're supporting this planet and supporting each other throughout the world. Okay?
Yeah.
So our goal is to have open discussion on where we want to be as a global community in about 15 years. So are there any other questions on the Saturn session? That's a pretty good understanding.
Oh, yes, I understand that.
All right, last chance for questions. Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think the next step here is where we are now. So you want to let the other group know that we're going into our next topic, and we're going to talk about where we currently are.
Okay. I'll do that. Oh, let me check which topics are we on.
So I'll start a little bit with the where we are now. Just in the context that the network. Is anyone taking notes, or who's our note taker?
Hi, Jay.
Yes.
Hey, what's up, Asif? How's it going?
Yeah, actually, when we are opening the link for this methodology proposal, it is saying that you people are having a private connection. Any suggestion for that?
Huh.
We cannot access the proposal.
Looks like it worked fine for me. It's all there. But we should create a doc for it. So if you guys could create a doc for it, just create a new doc for the methodology proposal, and I can copy and paste it all into the doc. That sound good?
Okay. Yes, that sounds good.
Yeah, just send the link to the doc on the Skype.
Okay, no worries. Thank you, Jay. Thank you.
Great. Awesome. So, so anyways, I was going to start with the where we are now in the context of, my involvement, which has been for many decades. So I've been involved for about 20 years now. And so overall, where we are is that we've been making a lot of progress, especially on some of the transformation of the economic models. But where we're not making a lot of progress is on our sustainability and the environment, and like really, like our economy is heating the planet, and our economy is, it's still very not in balance with the needs of the people across the planet and the environment. So, but there is all the new activity going on with cryptocurrencies, and we have brought in more funding, but that's becoming difficult to expand and scale and actually, focus on the work of the network itself. So we've really over the last year, although we've been successful in, helping other organizations achieve their goals, we kind of, didn't achieve our own goals. For example, with the Saturn session, we didn't even really invite anyone, and we haven't been able to do our public launch yet. So it's kind of, this is sort of like a wake-up call for us. Like this is the wake-up call where we need to start pushing our planetary sessions more and really focusing on the African Community Network, because the world needs us and they need a way to do global networking and have like a clear global structure of communication and organizing. So I'm pretty sure that we will be successful in the short term, but we just need to be working together in understanding the steps of each one of these global sessions that we went over, and making sure that people understand how to organize them, because it shouldn't be that difficult. It should be pretty easy to get our community growing. But I think that's kind of where we are right now. I could go on and on and on about it, but with the African Community Network, the main focus we have is supporting other organizations, not necessarily ourselves. So we have to just balance that with also supporting the needs of the different sessions, including the Saturn session. So I think that's pretty much it on where we are now for me. Does anyone else want to add there? Please, let's maybe just do it around. So you would want to think about this in the context of the last 15 years. Like, where are we now as a human society on our planet? I mean, 15 years ago would have been what, 2002? Something like that. Hello, is anyone there? Let's just do a round. So start with Lucy or James.
Yes.
Yeah, let's start.
Yes.
So think about it in the context of, like, all right, how about this? So in the last 10 years, 15 years, some major important things have happened in the global organizing sphere that are important to mention. One would be Occupy and the Arab Spring, right? So, the global movement of Occupy and the Arab Spring and that whole experience was pretty substantial, and I think it did change the trajectory of the human consciousness, where people really there is a sense out there that even though we choose not to, that at any moment people could rise up and really change how the world functions. That people saw, with Occupy, with the Arab Spring, with the some of the other changes that the people have a lot more power than they may otherwise think that they have. And then also, I think another thing that was really shown was that when people rise up and change power structures, that we don't necessarily have a great solution for moving forward with new collaborative democracy in a way that really empowers the people and local communities. So especially country by country, right? So if every single country is fragmented and every single country has its own individual, system, I mean, we want that, but it somehow seems to get disconnected from the bigger global community. So anyways, we'll just have to see how it evolves forward. But I think that, you know, having better systems out there, especially new economic systems that we're building, it will help people to feel more empowered across the world and be able to not only rise up and change power systems, but also to change how we structure our governance models. Like that is really the key, is how we evolve the democratic models and our governance models to really represent the local communities and empower people, because it's just too big, it's too much to do, because you just kind of get stuck in the old system over again, just with the new leadership, you know? So anyways, I think that's a good thing to mention in terms of where we are now, because it was a pretty significant thing that happened over the last 15 years. So anyways, let's do a quick round, and then everyone can kind of mention, like, you know, how they feel about where we are now as a society in terms of where we might be, you know, 15 years from now is our next discussion. So it's like, it could be anything from technology to, you know, all the new blockchain stuff to the governance movements. And I guess the other thing to mention, obviously, is that there's huge corruption in the governance right now. It's you know, U.S. massive corruption in the United States, massive corruption in countries all over the world. I mean, it's money, money, money. Everything's run by whoever has the most money and can corrupt it to meet their own needs, in less than, you know, 100 people own the majority of the assets of the world. I mean, it's extremely corrupt what's going on right now, and it's being abused for the benefit of very few people. You know, so, you know, my hope would be in as little as 15 years, we might be able to change that. So anyways, let's talk about other concepts of where we are now. Lucy, James, Mahidi, Jessica, Abdul.
Yes.
Abdul, you want to go?
For me, like we have said, like 15 years ago, the past 15 years, the world has changed. We have seen the changes in the governments. We have seen the way people are choosing leaders, and like everything that used to work like 15 years ago has ended up changing. But my fear has always been correction, because every day we see, like all people are engaged in correction. Things have evolved, what they do, and we feel that the next coming don't actually like expanding. Then I find that we are in this situation here, like.
Can you talk a little louder, James? You're a little quiet.
Yes, I don't know if you can hear me well.
Yeah, we can hear you, but you just got a little quieter at the end there.
So I was saying, like for the next coming 15 years, in terms of the way we fight corruption, if we don't change our mentality towards corruption, and I think we'll be in a position that we might never even come to recover from. So for me, I think we need to prioritize fighting corruption, because at the end of the day, if we don't, we stand to lose a lot more.
Cool. So James is starting to get into the goals for the next 15 years. We're going to cover that right after we talk about where we are now. But thank you, James. Abdul, did you want to talk about where we are now?
I can so I think for me, 1 or 2% can do that.
I'm not getting.
Yeah, Abdul, it's really hard to hear you. Lucy, do you want to go next? Maybe you should try reconnecting, Abdul. Lucy, do you want to have anything to add for where we currently are in the world?
Yeah. Why we are now as a world, we are really in a bad situation now. But in every country, economic is very high, and we have that common citizens that they cannot even able to make something for daily bread. And my fear is, what about after 20 years from now? How the world is gonna be? Because the thing is now everything is going high. Every time you changing, every months come with a different things. This month we have like everything is raised up. We don't know after 20 years to come what's gonna happen. That's the fear that I have. I think we need to see things like what should we do to bring economy down? At least someone who has nothing, who has not that small job, can afford to live. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Lucy. Mahidi.
Yeah, can I comment?
Yeah.
Talk about inflation. Past 15 years ago, for example, in our country, it was 65 taka per $1. But after getting time and time, it is now increasing. We are now at 80 or 85 taka for $1. That's the mean that we are going through a inflation economic crisis. We have to buy anything with a lot of cost, and also we have to think about what will happen in 15 years after. We have to, when we want to buy a thing from United States or other European country, we have to pay more. So what is the main reason is that I think the value of money is getting lower for some reasons. Maybe it will be for political issues or other issues, but it is more going bad areas, and also we cannot do it. We cannot control it because the people or the government is handling it, and we do not know how to control and how to manage it. But if we think about 15 years, we can just remove the difference between these two of inflation or also other discrepancy. The main thing I just realized that if we become aware and we just complete our responsibility to the society and also to the government, then I think that this type of discrimination and also the inflation rate will low with the help of other peoples all over the world. That's it.
Great, thank you. Very important. Jessica, did you want to give your experience of where we are now? Jessica, are you there? You're on mute still, Jess?
Can you?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, maybe I can add something on economy.
Okay.
And inflation and also on environment.
Okay.
Yeah, right now the economy is very bad. Even in our country, we are experience from what was previously in the last like 15 years or so. Also, I can add something on the environment. I think right now we are also experiencing the global warming, and which is really affecting us. We should think about how to solve the issue. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's really good to bring up the global warming issues because, you know, it in many ways it's like this might be our last 15 years until the next Saturn session to fix the global warming problem. Otherwise, it could just be too late. That might be it, you know. And billions of people could die. I mean, if people want billions of people to die, then that's you know, a good strategy, not doing anything. But it's like, you know, in the next 15 years, most likely, based on where we are now, either there's going to be new changes in the world and solutions are going to happen and the economy is going to shift to a more green, natural, you know, cooling the planet economic model, or billions of people are going to die over the next generation, like over the next 50 years or so. And I think in the next, you know, 15 years is when that decision is going to happen, as far as finalizing whether we basically move forward with a world where we empower and support all the people in the world to get their basic needs met, and to cool the temperature and to create an economic model that dramatically shifts away from the fossil fuel burning and just like, you know, environmental pollution and just environmental degradation, destruction that's raping and pillaging the world and destroying our social systems and not allowing people to meet their daily needs. And so if we transform and we turn into a new model and a new system, and build the infrastructure that's going to represent, including, you know, sessions like these and communication systems and decision-making models and new governance models, I think that will be in a really good place. One governance model we're looking at, if any local communities are interested as well, is called sociocracy. So I can add that here. I spelled it wrong. Sociocracy. Sociocracy. So I think it's a pretty good model for decision making and communication for people who are trying to empower their communities. And, you know, it's very similar to what we do with the Unity methodology. Our methodology is obviously much more detailed for every single little detail. But if someone wants to get started with something that's already cookie cutter ready to go, the sociocracy is a good next step. And we'll have our methodology and models set up within the next 15 years as well. So, you know, fully set up all FQN community and Unity methodologies for public use. So that could be a good goal for the next 15 years for sure. All right. Any other things for, did Abdul get back? No. Anything else that anyone wants to add for where we are now? Okay, so shall we go on to our goals? All right, so Lucy, do you want to let the other group know that we finished discussing where we are now and that we're now going to go on to our goals for the next 15 years?
Cool. I'm doing.
Yeah. And also remind them to link their doc at the top of the notes, okay? Like it should have, it should have second group doc should be right here, you know? Okay. Let's go into the goals for the next 15 years. So it's technically 14.8 years, but it sounds like 15 to me. We already had a couple goals that were already suggested, which is very important. For one, we are changing our mentality towards corruption. I really like that idea. And what I think is important about this one is the mentality. It's a mental change, not necessarily work that's going to make the difference. You know, it's about a conscious change. Prioritizing fighting the corruption, bringing economic systems down to the common people or common person. I heard that. And then I added fully setting up the F community methodologies for public use. So I think that is the first 4. So we're going to do another round again with all of us, and each one of us is going to speak about our vision and goals for 15 years from now. Does anyone want to go first, or do you guys want me to go first, or?
I think you can go first.
You want me to go first? All right. Okay, so the first thing I would add is, you know, definitely would be nice to get our house in order and, you know, meet our basic responsibilities as a network, including running smooth planetary sessions regularly. And of course, doing a full public launch with the FQN Community Network. I think that is all super duper important over the next 15 years. But we need to do it when we're ready. I mean, if we're not ready, we're not ready. We can't fix that overnight. It's going to take time to do it the right way. You know, I think it's important to do things as best as we can, you know, with what we have. So from there, as far as like overall goals, I think we should utilize the Jupiter plan as our primary plan, which is every 6 years, because the 15-year plan, I mean, maybe we'll be able to update the 15-year plan. You know, still try to update the 15-year plan. But you know, we don't need to like kill ourselves for it. But don't need to kill ourselves to do it. So from there, we would make sure we have our plan really clear. And you know, I feel like right now it seems like we're moving towards is 3 things. One is that we're definitely 100% moving forward with cyber economic models of infrastructure, economic infrastructure. So we will have launched, you know, dozens of tokens and cyber coins over the next 15 years for sure. And so in essence, we're basically creating our own economic future by building economic cyber tools, right? So that's just super duper essential that we continue to do that. The other one would be, you know, we're currently starting to work here with Stanford and really focus on the climate change. So one of our number 1 priorities from the Jupiter plan was sustainability, but specifically looking at cooling down the capital of the planet, and it's a 0 degree in 0 time with the 0 degree project at Stanford. So I think that's going to be huge. You know, we want to write lots of grants and bring in funds for many organizations that can help this transformation to like a new economic model that is supporting and in alignment with the world and the planet itself. So going back up to the Unity methodology, the primary purpose of the Unity methodology is our decision-making models. So in the context of the decision-making models and the structures of the parallel governance, everything, this would represent a new, the evolution of democracy, right? So it represents our evolution of democracy itself. So, you know, in terms of like redoing the economic models and in redoing the economy in a way that the economy is in balance with the planet, you know, we have a plan for that, and we're moving forward and executing that on many, many fronts. And we're building new economic systems with the infrastructure of the cyber economic models and virtual machines, virtual ledger machines. That we're working with many organizations who are doing that, and we already have all the tools we need to start launching our own tokens, which we will start creating momentarily. So from there, it's really just a matter of redoing our decision making. And when I talk about redoing our decision making, not just at the level of our own organizational decisions, but really at the level of entire communities, countries, and the world, right? World communities, right? So I think that's pretty much it. From there, once we have our basic systems of economic models and balance the planet and focusing on how we make decisions together that are actually functional, we can start redoing our educational models. But I think the focus must be for education on methods, and that the methods must focus on how we work together as teams and communities, right? Because we need to learn how to work together as teams and communities, and it's really difficult for people. So we have to get better at it. And I think that's where our focus on our education would lie in the world. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for me. Who wants to go next? I guess I'll add, since there's no one going, I would add that I really do believe in the next 15 years that we will have a dramatically different planet that we experience. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, it's like, if we're still in the same situation in 15 years, we have much, much bigger problems to deal with. Like, if we don't deal with them now, you know, I mean, I've been basically focusing on this and trying to move this forward and build a global community that can actually address these issues and problems across the world and the crises across the world immediately. And, you know, we're the ones who are here, so we might as well just do our best to, you know, represent our communities and the people that we know and move it all forward, because, you know, in the end, there's no one else who's going to do it for us. But yeah, I do believe that it's not going to take a lot. That, you know, a small group of people who take action and invite more to get involved, you know, within a couple years, we could make dramatic changes. And it's already happening. I mean, the whole economic models are changing and shifting over. All of the environmental movements are taking root on that new economic model as well. And from there, it's just a matter of sharing and evolving our decision-making systems so that we're actually able to work really well as teams, especially on the global levels, global teams and communities. So it's really close. It's just a matter of execution, you know, balancing our funding, making sure that we have resources, and learning how to work together. That's the hardest part. I don't think there's anything harder than learning how we work together successfully. It's just by far the most difficult component. But if we learn how to work together well and we actually do and follow through with the work that we're doing, everything else should come together, including all the resources and funding and balancing our economic models and balancing our access to, food and like helping our communities. It should all flow from being able to work together as a team, as a community. So, yeah. All right, James, do you want to go next?
Yes. So, we have seen in the last 3 years, we have seen the rise of the cyber currencies and the whole platform which has been developed, and eager to see where the whole technology will be in the next couple of years. Let's say even for the next 15 years, because I can see like a new world which will be developed around the cyber currencies and I just can't wait. It will lead to new developments, like, because I always if you have to use the issues way more easier than they are now. So,
hey, Lucy, can you hear me?
in terms
Hello?
of technology,
Can anyone hear me?
it was speaking my that's called.
Teacher.
Can you hear me, Lucy? Can you hear James?
Yes, I can hear you, Jay.
Can you hear James?
James, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you guys.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds better. Can you just repeat that last part again, James?
So what I was saying is that I can't wait to see the changes that the cyber platform will bring in the next couple of years, because I think it will assist us in solving a lot of issues that we are facing in terms of financial management in the world, and I think it will be very great to see the cyber. To reach the limit you can see, like, in terms of the way we have seen the surge in cyber currencies. I think that it will assist us in solving a lot of issues in terms of financial management and yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We should put a lot of effort into rebuilding the financial infrastructure of the world for sure. Okay, anything else, James? Should we go on to the next person? Lucy, you want to go? Lucy?
Let me think.
Okay, I'll take a minute. Well, while you're going, I could read some of what people are saying from the other group.
Okay.
So, for the next 15 years, Albina's talking about doing outreach to get stable investors, long-term relationships to boost our economy, accountability, having more accountability, ensure that we do things the right way, teamwork, full involvement, being our own boss, self-driven towards setting the goals and contributing growth to the organization, and putting action in the methodology and setting our policies and methods. So that's important. So she says, to the entire world, support humanity. When in good financial times, we can share our income, do voluntary work like giving moral support, education, creating awareness to how to eradicate poverty, involve them to do anything to earn for a living. Joseph says, I think by 14 years, we should expect Afghan Community Network to have led a discussion in the area of global democracy. Similar to what I was talking about, democracy as we know it is broken and needs to live on as intended from the original goal, which is freedom. Freedom, we are talking about health, education, distribution. Every family can have the things sorted out, that people will be inspired to follow their dreams and passions in a revolutionary manner. The choice of inaction in this area will be catastrophic in some decades to come. Yeah, population growth, all the other problems. I mean, for me, it's just bottom line is like, you know, decision making is our foundation. And like, if we can't make decisions as communities and as a culture, especially, you know, global decisions related to global warming and sustainability, then we're not going to be successful as a species. Teresa says it will be important to support people with no job or any kind of income to try to offer children more opportunities to enroll in schools. Right to education, automation, and the future is threat to jobs nowadays, which means that the future will be less opportunities for people. So I think that there are a couple important things there. One is education. I mean, we want to start the process of transforming our education systems, and then we also want to, you know, balance our economic model for it's something called a basic guaranteed income / equity. So everybody should have like a minimum amount that they get. And then the other one that she mentioned, which was very interesting, was more education schools. So that's important. Yeah, I think I covered it. So we add that one. That's very important. Cool. So Lucy, did you want to go? Lucy?
Yes.
Did you want to go?
Yeah, I think all goals that I've said, like corruption, that I think we need to fight the corruptions for the next 15 years to come, to see where we should be. And also try to make sure on our economy, how can we overcome all these, the economic crisis that we have globally.
Great. Okay, Mahidi or Jessica?
Yes, I think that creating a skillful person is the most important thing we have to think about our next 15 years.
What is it?
Creating skillful people.
Creating skillful people. Okay. Keep going.
Yeah, that's thing. The main thing is that I think only skillful people can know how to do a job, and otherwise we can see unemployment is another problem because they do not have the skill. The main thing is that if we create some skillful people in our whole world by using our technology or also in personal assistance, then I think that our employment problem will eradicate by using this type of creating some perfect people to do his and also for society. That's I think that it will be the best decision that we have to concern about this type of skill. Maybe we can create some people who can help the government and also who can raise who can eradicate some hunger problem by using community and also raise awareness. But it will only accomplish by creating skillful people. That's it.
also, I think we need also to educate people.
Obviously, education is the most important thing. But along with this type of activities, we have to make skill some people. Otherwise, they got unemployed. That is the realization of present world.
Yeah. So what's really interesting to think about, you know, one of the places that the FQN Community Network is very well situated right now is that if you think about it and you think about what are the skills necessary for, you know, the current economic system of the world, right? And we've all seen that high demand skills have been focusing towards tech jobs and learning how to be a coder and learning how to work with computers over the last, you know, couple decades. And so if our economy shifts into a cyber currency platform, you know, cyber currency and, you know, token and other value-based automated ledgers, it's going to be a very different economy, right? And the FQN Community Network is very well poised to build an educational model of skills training, like you're talking about, to educate people in the skills to build the value and tracking and basic foundational infrastructure that can support this new economic model. So I think that is a really good role that we could play, is helping people learn the skills necessary to start functioning in the new economic model that we're creating along with, you know, the entire world as we transfer into or transition into.
Yeah, so what we're doing, that is obviously a good initiative, because we can learning lots of things from this community.
Yeah. Great. So let's just make a goal.
What about like the communities that that is still behind? They don't even know now where the world is. I think we really have a question. How can we help these other countries that are still, they don't even know what technology is? I think it is our concern.
So the question is how to help countries who are just behind the times?
Yes. In terms of education.
In terms of education and access to the technology.
People they don't know anything. Even if you tell them about the technology, they don't know that because of the war. How can we help them at least to understand all these things?
Did you say because of war?
The only things that they have now, they just only the thing which is there is war. Nothing else. Only war.
Did you say with war? Did you say?
Yeah.
So war and conflict?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there's two ways we could go about that particular issue, because I think it's really good to bring it up. You know, one direction could be like, okay, maybe our focus across the world should be on, you know, let's get the people who are connected to the internet. Let's get all the areas of the world that have basic stability, get them set up in the new economy immediately as quickly as possible so that we can get just the basic numbers up so that we can start helping more people quickly, and then allow it to grow from there. You know, that everything can kind of transfer out more organically. If we try to directly address, you know, the educational and access issues and the conflict issues first, and try to get, you know, the communities more up to the same page and where everyone is at, we could try to do that first. But it could it could slow us down as well. Because not everybody's going to be ready to move forward in the world, and we have to make a decision there. Do we slow down and do we really try to help solve the conflict, or do we move forward with those who are already ready to do it and are already in a place that is going to be able to move more quickly. So I think that what you're bringing up is really important, and that we have to have some type of conflict program and education program, conflict evolution and education program to help build peace, right? But I don't necessarily think it should be our primary focus, in the idea that if all we want is peace in the world, it's not enough. We need more than peace. We need something to replace war, not just to end war, And I think what we want to replace war with is our new skilled people that Mahidi was just talking about. So in education. So Lucy, do you have any other ideas on how we can help bring up countries that are behind the times and stuck in war and conflict?
It's very difficult to bring these people, because once we cannot even they cannot get access to electricity. So how can you help them? It's so difficult. For me, I don't see any other way that these people. Maybe just only to focus on maybe peace. When there is a peace, it is also very easy for you to try anything, any ideas that you have, even to educate them. Even when you have a peace, it's very easy for them also to have even water. The countries that has war, getting even a clean water is very difficult for them. Health, generally getting even medical centers is so hard. We need to really to have other way that we can help such countries in terms of education and health, medical centers.
Well,
how can we really help them?
This is one thing that I think that we could help with, which I think is important. Based on this particular issue is as such. So basically, we're already developing organizing methodologies for global and regional governance models, for decision making and organizing. So one of the things that could be applicable to that situation is, I believe we can create, yes, we can create a type of analog local bottom-up community organizing and decision making not structure, but it'd be kind of like a manual, and this manual could be used to go in physically and support a community to learn how to make decisions and organize specifically to meet basic life needs, including, and then this would include basically like, water, like organizing your community to have water, conflict evolution. It would include, food, farming, how to organize and make decisions for your community on food and farming, making sure that you have energy and resources. And then most importantly, new economic access to new economic models. And this can also include analog models. So basically what we want to do is we want to give access give access to all people, give access to the new economic systems to all people, and the decision making regardless of whether they have technology now, right? So I think that's very doable. If you set it up correctly, you're doing it in a way to empower the local community to help them meet their basic needs: food, water, shelter, and healthcare. And because if they can work together to get that support themselves first, then they can help build up their own economies locally. And it can all be done in analog. It doesn't need to be based on computers. We have a model that can be built as a manual where you can just go in and physically teach it in the local language and local existing communities and just help them do whatever they're already doing, except help them do it a little tiny bit better so that they can help get themselves out of being stuck in the oppression that's going on across the world. So I'm glad that you brought that up, Lucy, and I do feel like there is a way to, but it would be a very different model than we would have for groups that have computers and technology and internet and energy and all that. It's a much different model because it would be based on more like paper and communication and just like all local. Check. Does that sound about right, Lucy, as far as like one option?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think you're right. We can't forget about the people that just the technology itself isn't going to fix the problem. That it needs to be based on actual people and actual support going into a community and helping communities empower. Like the focus is really the empowerment of the community. Empowerment of the community through analog methods. Cool. And it should be applicable. Like if we're building these systems, it should be applicable to small villages, of a few hundred, and up. Like it needs to be easily accessible and optional. So you go in there, they're not interested. They have their own thing going on. It's like perfectly fine. They can teach us.
Yeah.
So, Jessica, do we get Jessica yet? Jessica, did you want to add anything? Or Lucy, did you want to add anything more? James? Mahidi?
For me, no.
Jessica? I guess Jessica's not really here. So, or maybe she's on mute. I don't know. But it would be nice to be able to give her participation credits. But let's go see what the other group is doing, and then we'll move on. So, Joyce says, for the next 15 years, I want to see FQN in a very stable organization with its own strong life support programs. So she's prioritizing our life support program. I like that. Not only for the workers, but especially for the whole universe. I hope I would still be in FQN in 15 years or more. I started FQN and saw the organization's goals inclined with mine, with the goal of having my own foundation in the future. So as I started, I decided to put 30% of my income to free medical and dental missions, and hopefully for the next 15 years we'll continue to do so. So that's very cool that she's doing that. Asif says this: the most important thing is to understand our life's goals, and not only we have to try for the achievements also. I have got lots of poverty in my country, so I would definitely go for education, making hospitals, which are, in my perspective, will be able to be there to do it in more 5 to 7 years. In FQN, we should really work hard to focus on the betterment of this organization, as this organization gave us life and I want FQN to be a multi-billion-dollar company. Well, we're not a company, we're a network. So it's definitely doable. In the context of one other aspect that's brought up here is the importance of values, that we must organize and prioritize our values and our value systems. It's almost worth talking about now. If we wanted to go into that, we should at least put it as the next step if we don't want to talk about it now. But we need to talk more about values. We need to talk about our value systems, what it means to have value, a lot. Values. And then we need to prioritize all of our values. And just to give you an example, the direction we're going with the Stanford program, I think I still have it open here. No, I don't. Here we go. I got it. Oh, shoot.
Finally.
Oh, look. Oh, no. Was someone adding something?
No.
No. Okay. So I was going to show you guys an example of some of the values that we're building with the Stanford program. So this is the offering that I've been drafting. So if you go into our values, basically the concept is having an understanding of our collective values grounds and gives long-term life and energy to your community. So this is a list of possible values, natural patterns, 0 degree, ancient wisdom, transformation, urgency and timelessness, like getting things done quickly. Authenticity is one of my favorites, and this is one of the newest things I've learned working with one of our new community members, Sharik. It basically, the idea is being authentic to your true self. You know, that we don't want people to just bow down and just do something because FQN says it, or just because it's work, or just because it's this, but that you're truly being authentic from yourself, and that your ideas and your expression is coming from your own heart and from your own passion. Super important. Equality and equivalence, that all are created equal in decision making and support. And then we have just like normal things like advising, gifting, time, community, skills and expertise, evaluation, evolution, and investors, transparency, that everything's transparent and open world, and making sure everything is accessible. Ecosystem, distributed economic values, really building ecosystemic models, and also being willing to shift our value systems, that our values are constantly changing over time, and our values are very important to evolve and communicate with. So, I just added that to our goals because I think it's really important that we do address our values, and hopefully we do that sooner or later, and then continue to evolve them over the next years, so that we're on the same page with our values. Any other last things for our goals for the next 15 years?
Jay?
Yeah, James?
For me, I think I can contribute on the issue about healthcare. And I think I can see one of the goals is to, for me, I think achieving universal healthcare is one of the most utmost important things, because recently, when I had issues with my body and I was supposed to go to the hospital, the way I was being treated, it made me feel as if I wasn't actually a human being. And this is happening to people every day. You can see people are dying due to negligence within the hospital system, within the hospital. And in this day and age, I don't think that there's a person who's supposed to die because of negligence in hospitals, because we have made significant improvement the way we, in terms of medical discovery. And for me, 15 years from now, I think in terms of healthcare, everybody is supposed like to be covered, because you find like even right now, a few people have medical covers, and these has caused other people even their own lives. So yeah, that's my take on issues with healthcare.
Yeah. Great. I agree. The healthcare situation is very difficult. I also fully 100% support global, like you're saying, global universal healthcare. Like right now, the only thing we do globally is basically, you know, war and security. It's like we do global security, and we have these huge, massive treaties and UN this and that, where we basically pump, you know, endless billions of dollars and trillions of dollars into the security of the world. And it would make a lot of sense to put money into like one of the next big things, like you're saying, even more than global education, would be a global universal healthcare system. Would make sense. There's no rational contextual reason why people across the entire world shouldn't have access to healthcare, and then more importantly, that it would be easier and cheaper and simpler to implement a single global healthcare model that everyone across the entire world has access to than trying to do it in each individual country. It would just be way easier to do as a whole system. So I think and lower cost. So I feel like you're right. I think that is a definitely something that should be focused on. In terms of our plan and how it fits in, I don't know if we could link the Saturn plan here. Let me go to the Saturn doc and see if the plan is here. And the plan needs a lot of work. I don't know if we're gonna get the Saturn plan publishable, but we still have our Jupiter plan. So everything we talk about today, the goal would be to get it into the Saturn plan and get the Saturn plan updated as best as possible. One of the sections is about our overall plan, which is very clear. Step 1, economic transformation in infrastructure for our economic systems infrastructure. Step 2 is, oh, and by the way, the next Saturn session is in 2032. So we'll be doing that. So anyways, that's number 1 is economic infrastructure. Number 2 is decision-making infrastructure, like rebuilding our decision-making infrastructure systems. And then step 3 is our educational systems. So that's sort of our 1, 2, 3, boom, boom, boom. And it's important to understand that how those 3 things relate to each other. Yeah, here we go. So we have new economic infrastructures, new political infrastructures, new educational infrastructures. In my mind, and this might just be me, but in my mind, when I think of healthcare, I feel like healthcare is less of a business operation, and it's not really making decisions. And I think it's mostly education. Like when I feel like when I go to a doctor, I feel like the doctor is training me on how to take care of my body. You know, you almost have this relationship with your healthcare professionals where they can't really save your life. They can only help you learn how to take care of your body better, right? And so in that context, I personally would put healthcare into the educational infrastructure. You know, and to transform and think of a global healthcare system as a global education system to train and support our entire world community to be healthy and support each other to be healthy, you know? So just letting you know where I put that, yeah, in the structure of the plan. It would be the third leg, which is education infrastructure, which could include health and wellness infrastructure. So I don't know if that's right or not, but just letting you know. So anything else, James?
No for me.
Anyone else? Mahidi, Jessica, Lucy, are we ready? You guys ready to move on to the next topic?
Yes, sir. I'll go to the next topic.
Yeah, what about like how can we support the communities that are affected by drought?
Drought. Well, there is some people who feel like, you know, with global warming and our whole situation, that there's a probability that in the next, you know, 5 to 10 years, which is within the 15-year period we're talking about, that the next big global crisis that's going to hit us, you know, we've had food crises, we have all the government, environmental crises, all these crises, right? But we haven't quite reached the point of global water crisis. There are regional water crises, like you're saying, but it hasn't become the level of a global water crisis. And some people are saying within the next, you know, 5 to 10 years, we might see the first full signs of global water crisis, that we're going to hit the tipping point of availability of fresh water to the majority of people. So it's definitely a very important consideration to think about. What one aspect that is definitely needs to be considered, and the example would be central Spain. Like central Spain is basically a desert. It was basically a desert and a chaparral, and they literally built, you know, hundreds, like, you know, thousands, if not you know, tens of thousands of greenhouses of central Spain. And it's like, it became literally the most fertile land, and now grows the majority of the vegetables for all of Europe. And this all happened in the last 10 or 15 years. So it completely changed the actual structure of the planet, or at least that particular area of the planet in central Spain. And they built, you know, basically, you know, just tens of thousands of greenhouses. So this used to just be desert, and now it's like all of these greenhouses, and you can see them. It's a very interesting landscape, and it changes the ecology and the economy of the whole system. But it's but that might be the only option. It's like if you have no water, and the water just evaporates away and disappears, if you build a greenhouse, and greenhouses don't have to be very expensive, you just basically need some plastic and, you know, some biodomes, like that you can start building one at a time and growing out and trying to help build a more green. And once you're in there, you can save, you know, 90% of your water, because the water can stay within the greenhouse, you know? So it's an interesting concept. I don't know if it's applicable to all communities, but if there's at least a little bit of water to get started, it does seem to work. And it, you know, yeah, we'll have to do more research on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So let's go on to plasma. Lucy, this would be you for the plasma, and we can do the report that you had, and then also there was a couple other things, right?
Okay. Can I start with the budget report?
Yeah.
I'm doing the video indexing. Let me first link it.
Mm-hmm. All right, maybe we should take a quick break for 10 minutes and then do the plasma report, go through team network and network equity, and then we could go ahead and maybe wrap up at that point, okay?
Okay.
You guys want to take a break?
Yes, let's go for break.
And I feel like we got the important part done, because we have our list of all of our goals for the next 15 years. So the key next step here is actually drafting it all into the Saturn plan and get the plan. So we could, you know, if we have time, we could review next steps. This would be like, for the Saturn plan and raising resources, funds to implement. Okay, so let's take a quick break for the next 10 minutes. And if you can let the other team know that we're taking a break, okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
I'm back.
Okay, me too. I am back as well.
Okay.
So shall we go into the plasma? We can start by mentioning that plasma stands for power, leadership, accountability. For the shareholders, membership, and owners of the organization. So the general idea is that you want to report on the budget, what's going on a little bit. We're not going to do a very detailed plasma reporting right now, but we can at least do a little bit of what you did get started on, and then we can include that in future plans and information. So go for it, Lucy.
Okay. Is it power, legal, or leadership? I think
leadership.
On the other end, I have power, legal, not leadership.
It's leadership.
Okay.
It's about the accountability and power structures of the leadership. It's basically you don't want your leadership to get corrupt. So the Plasmo team in the Plasmo is like basically an accountability committee within all the organizations that we create. And we also encourage any other corporations and organizations to create independent, separate, budgeted, independent, reporting branches of their organizations that ensure that you can reduce corruption, so that the information is shared collaboratively throughout the organization, especially to the decision makers and the membership and the legion in our case. So we want the reporting of what's going on internally within the organization to be transparent and open, and that's what Plasma is supposed to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go through our report for the budgeting.
Mm-hmm.
As you see, you can see that we have April, May 2017. We budget for 3,643, and this is what we spend. We might maybe probably spend more than this, but this is what I get we spend for that month. As you see, you can see we keep on adding, like every month. We are not constant. On May, June, we budgeted for $4,785, and we spent 4,000. We might even probably spend more than that, because I do not see any fee and also bonuses for that month. Maybe 4,000 or 500 like that. But this is what I got as a report for that month. On June, July, we spent like 5,680. You can see every month we add like 1,000. On the top of that, every month we increase. We keep on increasing. We are not really constant on our budgeting. We really increase. Like there, we have 4,000. May, June, July, we have 5,680. We spent 4,506, and the fee bonuses 21. And when we have $8 as the fee, but I did not include advances. I did not check on advances. You might even have more than this. July, August, we did not increase much. It's like we increased like $200 on the top, which is not bad. July and June, July, August, at least we are not going far on our budgeting. It was just the increase of like $200 when we spent $5,498. And bonuses, we do not have a bonus that month, but we have a fee of $52.94. On August, September, we have 8,000. you can see we really increased more than like 3,000 on top of 5 on that, which is very bad. We need to also check on when we budget. We need also to go back and see on the previous month how much we spent,
but I think,
how much we budget.
I think at that point we were growing our budget though, because our budget grew from April all the way through about November, December, and then at that point that's where our budget started crashing, but we still weren't able to bring our budget back down fast enough, which is where the problem comes in. But yeah.
And the highest month ever we spent the money, that was Jan, February. We budgeted for 16,575. That was the highest month ever that we spent money, including followed by Feb, March. Yeah, that's all the report that we have for budget. For system and processing, I think Jay will take you through maybe to explain a bit. Let me open for system and processing if this is the right. We have the report. We have first the chart. Can show you the chart. This is the chart. I don't know whether it's okay. Jay will maybe will tell me. We have system and processing, that chart report. We have management system. On management, we have the policy and regulations. On a policy, we have a single body. We have single regulation body teams, individual sessions, and leadership. So under conflict, we have issues, problems, and legal action, and priority decisions.
I think the only thing missing is just the methods. So if we can add in the methods, then I think we'll be good there. Mm-hmm.
Okay, where can we add the methods here?
I don't know. We don't need to add them now, but we can just note that in the future we want to find a place to add them. Yeah.
Okay, that's the chart that represents this report that we created here. You got system report presentation. This is not yet done. We are going to put it as a presentation, but it's not yet done. We just we just created that one. Nothing is empty. We have the report for system. What we present it on chart, we have this as a report. This is the report. Still not good. We'll try our level best to make it at least a good report that can help us in future. Yeah, this is all what I have.
Right.
Not yet good, but we'll try our best.
Yeah, it's a great start. So as far as the Plasmo, the goal would be to add in the methods, and that we want to make sure all of our processes and systems are transparent and open and changeable as possible. Are there any questions for Lucy?
No questions for me.
Hidi,
I think the next group want you to join them on Plasmo.
I think you would be really good, Lucy. So Lucy, do you want to just go and do your presentation to the other group as well, real quick?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be here. We'll keep.
I'll be back. Let me go.
Awesome.
They're on which hangout?
8. They're on 8th hangout.
Back way.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the team and network equity. I feel like the main thing here is just that there's a okay, so the one, we want to understand what team and network equity is. And then we, on the other hand, we want to have clear criteria for how to implement and get maximum value, right? So bottom line, we are a worker-owned cooperative, right? And everyone here is gaining value, tokens, equity in the network and the organizations that we collectively own. So the goal is to really take more time to be actually tracking our team equity. And you know, and so these are tasks and responsibilities that can be done. So it's not like a top priority right now because we have the mandatory priorities and other essentials that we have to focus on. We haven't been doing this, but it's like every time we don't do it, we lose value. So we're losing our value in the company, in the community, and in the network. So it is not a good idea to ignore our equity valuation, right? How much we're all contributing and what percentage and what the number of tokens that are going to be issued. Well, I mean, the hope is that we can start issuing tokens any month now. I mean, there's no reason not to do it, except that we simply just aren't meeting all of the work goals that we have. So are there any questions on understanding what team equity and network equity is? So like, I guess the only other thing I'll explain is that basically you have, you know, value tracking, and we have hours. We track our hours, and we track our contributions to the network. So the difference between that and team and network equity, so team equity is basically, you know, adding up everyone's contributions and turning it into percentages. So, because what matters isn't the number of hours that you do. What matters is the percentage of the number of hours you do in relationship to everyone else. So you could say, we know that James, you know, owns, you know, 3% of the company or whatever, right? Or Lucy owns 5%, or Jay owns 15%, or whatever it is. The point is that we should know not just how many hours you've contributed in the overall value, we should know how our value relates to the bigger community and everybody else, so we understand how much value we actually have. So let's say we have, you know, let's say there's $10,000 in the bank and you own 3% of it. Then if we liquidated the company and dissolved it, and, you know, sold all of our assets, this is how much money you would get. So everybody would know exactly the total value of their equity and their valuation in the organization and how much you actually owned. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. So, and we do this based on community equity. We can also add our website, communityequity.net. Everyone gets and receives some level of community equity, but there's also direct equity and all the other forms of back pay and IOUs and all that other kind of stuff. So as well as, of course, the upfront pay. So the other thing is criteria. So the Saturn session is supposed to be worth 5,000 times more than a normal session. And series is supposed to be 840, but there needs to be some minimum criteria of how you activate this value. So with network equity, you gain more value based on the session that you go to. So for example, you know, a weekly session would be worth 7 times more than a normal daily buddy team, right? Then you have your new moon session, right, would be worth 30 or, you know, 29.5 times more than a normal daily buddy team session. So within the network equity, you're actually getting value based on the frequencies and the time periods that you come in. All right. So for example, Venus session would be like about 110 times more value, whereas the the Saturn session is 5,000 times more valuable. Does that make sense?
Nice.
Yeah. So the less often a session happens, the more valuable that session is, and therefore it's really important to come to it and be part of the session. So that's basically the goal of the network equity. So if people only come once every 3 months, they're still getting a lot of value within the network, because we want people to come and contribute even if they don't come very often. And then for people who do come often and want to bring a lot of get the maximum value, it's like you just don't miss the planetary sessions. The planetary sessions are just simply too valuable to miss and still have equal equity with everybody else. So, so then what is the career criteria? So if we don't meet this basic criteria, then we don't get the network equity. And this is very, very important. Let me see here. I think I logged this down already. All right, so this is what I have here. At least 2 invitations to all participants are required to be invited at least 1 week apart. Recommended to invite each level separately. So for example, if we're doing executive session, which would be the Venus executive session, right? Venus session. I mean, you have to invite all the executives. Must invite all executives across the entire network. And then for the Earth session, we need to invite all Bouncil members. And then for the Mars session, we need to invite all members. Okay, so it's just a matter of making sure that we invite the correct people and get them all invited to the session. Minimum professional preparation, staff attendance. So we did, we were getting things going, but we also have to check the RSVPs and respond to people who may have done that. So anyways, this would be the minimum criteria for implementing the network equity so that we all get the maximum value from our participation. Otherwise, we're basically losing value. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. So that's pretty much it on that. There's a lot more that I could go into as far as how to do the value tracking and how to do what's called the team equity spreadsheets. But the fact that it's the Saturn session, I think we should wait on that because we can do that at any time for the Saturn session. I'd much more talk about the Saturn plan and raising resources and implementing the Saturn plan. Okay, so I think we can move on. Are there any other questions about the network and team equity? James?
No question for me.
Okay. All right, so let's go on to our next steps, and then we can wrap up from there. We are going to next item, which is next steps and wrap up. Okay. Oh, and right here is session value tracking is where we do all the value tracking. And for example, Jessica hasn't really been participating, so she would get really low participation credits, whereas James has been participating a lot, so he gets really high participation credits. And so it's really important to participate and collaborate in the sessions if you want to have the maximum value. So the more that you participate and interact, the more value that you're building for the community. in supporting it so that you can get the highest session value, especially when you're multiplying it by like thousands or hundreds of times. Okay, let's go on to our next steps. Lucy, how's it going? So Lucy, you probably want to,
Yeah.
you know, you can review the Team Network Equity video link when we get that set up. But we just finished the Team Network Equity, pretty simple and straightforward. And we'll cover it more. But we want to get back to the Saturn next steps.
Also requesting if you can link them together on EQT, maybe. They were telling me to request if you can do it together. You link together.
No, we actually just finished it. We're already done, so they could just watch the video later. Fine.
Okay.
Cool. So
I'll let them know.
Yeah, and we'll cover it again at other sessions. Like it's a really easy thing to cover, but what we can't cover at other sessions is the next steps for the Saturn plan. So let's go into the Saturn plan, do the next steps for how we want to move forward with the Saturn plan implementation and raising funds, and then you know, we can wrap up and check out. Okay.
Okay.
So next steps. So next steps is basically like we're going to do another round where we should move forward, how we should, you know, achieve our goals and implement them, and how to raise resources to implement them, and other details. Does anyone want to start? Do you guys want me to start, or?
Can start.
You want me to start? Okay. So for me, the primary next step is definitely to complete the 15-year plan and get all of our goals into the Saturn plan. So we have the Saturn plan. It's just a matter of updating it and getting it organized. Okay. So from there, after we have the Saturn plan, then we can use the Saturn plan as our, it's kind of like a business plan, except it is a global society transformation plan, right? So the idea is that we can use our plan and use it to raise funds, right? So a business uses a business plan to raise money, right? A business uses business plan to raise money, and we are our network, and so we're using our transformation plan to raise money, right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't necessarily say money. I would say funds, resources, because it doesn't have to be money. Resources, support, and involvement, outreach, et cetera, right? So the general idea is that we want to utilize our plan to really get out there in the world and do more interacting. I don't think we're in a super hurry. I mean, if we have 15 years to, create the plan and get it out there, we'll be okay. So, and I think overall that the plan that we created today and the vision that we all have together, including this in the other group, is just very significant. I think that we have a really good sense of the needs of the whole population of the world, and like where we're at. I think we covered pretty much everything. I'm sure we missed a few things, but we got the majority of the key essentials. So I think that we're in pretty good shape. There could be, we could do some more prioritization, but I don't think that's super necessary. I think we should probably use the prioritization from the super plan. But anyways, then we can start raising some money with it. So focus on raising resources. Raising resources for our budget and other needs. And I think we could be successful, and also we want to work collaboratively with other organizations and programs that have resources and working on similar goals. Okay, so there's no reason we have to do it ourselves, because we could never accomplish all of those goals by ourselves. But working with other organizations and other networks who complement the goals that we're working on, that will help us a lot. So Lucy, James, you guys have other next steps? James, Lucy, you there? Mahidi, do you have any other next steps?
Yeah.
Or ideas on how to implement our plan and vision?
Still thinking about that. Maybe someone can go.
Mahidi,
But I'm still
Jessica?
thinking on that.
Jessica,
No,
are you here,
I think,
Jessica?
it is okay.
Mahidi,
Sorry?
did you want to have a next step?
Oh, I think yeah, I will talk it later. Just go to Lucy or Jessica.
James?
Yes, for me, I think you have already said it. For me, creating alternative sources of getting funds, that would be of big importance to the organization, since I've seen that every time when it comes to issues with budgetary allocations, we always have issues every time.
Great. Awesome. Okay, well, that sounds good. So I was thinking maybe for our checkouts, we could combine both the groups together. Should we combine both groups for checkouts? I feel like there is a potential possibility that we might be able to utilize like tokens and token cyber technologies to help build and raise funds to support the Saturn Session. I'm not 100% sure exactly how we would do it, but there's at least a couple different options. But we can note that down as a next step. Consider.
Yeah, are you going to also do budget?
Do what budget?
I can see a review where we are with the budget.
No, I'm ready
Reviewing the budgeting. I don't know.
I mean, that was if we had time or whatever, we could go back to the new moon session, but we can do that anytime. Because that's just our monthly budget. The Saturn session is really more of like the big picture 15-year plan. So let's just stay focused on that and we can just check out for now, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. And also remember, in just a few days, there is the series session, which is on
23rd.
The 23rd, yeah. So in like a week. 5 days, something like that. And again, the series session happens every 2 years. So they just so happen to coincide about a week apart between the 14-year session and the 2-year session. There's going to be about seven series sessions between now and the next Saturn session.
22nd, we have 22nd series session, and 23rd we have Mercury session.
There are Mercury sessions coming up right away too?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you put all those dates on?
Mm-hmm. on 23rd, 22nd, 23rd. Wow.
Can you add the dates for a schedule? So basically, the way to think about it is that the series session we're going to discuss. And what date was the series session on? This is in like 5 days. So for the series session, we are going to discuss the first 2 years of the Saturn plan, right?
Yeah.
So we have the Saturn plan. The series session will basically be the first 2 years of it. How are we going to implement the first 2 years and get everything moving forward? Then we have on the Mercury session. What'd you say that was in 7 days? We'll discuss the first few months. Okay.
So everyone need to prepare for their reports. You know, every Mercury session we need to present our reports on any sector that you are taking. Like if you are a payroll manager, all that stuff.
Yeah, so yeah, that's correct. Everybody who's a manager would need to submit a management report to the Mercury session in writing, so that's good. So yeah, we were just reviewing our schedule really quick. The series session comes up in a few days. We'll be discussing the first 2 years of the Saturn plan, and then the Mercury session comes up after that, and we'll be discussing the first few months of how we're going to move forward. And we already went through all the next steps as far as like building the plan and seeing if we can raise some funds. So any other next steps, any other items that anyone wants to bring up before we start our checkouts? All right, so we're gonna do a full round of checkouts, and we can start with and Steve, maybe you could do it, but let's start with the questions of like what we learned, and also we can score the session 0 to 9. So something that you learned here today, and then evaluation score for the session 0 to 9. And then, you know, what you're taking away to work on, like your focus for the next 15 years, like your primary component that you're most excited and interested in working on. So for example, you know, over the next 15 years, my personal focus of the dozens and dozens of options that we discussed, my focus might be universal healthcare. You know, I want to focus on universal healthcare. So tell us all like which one you are most interested in and passionate about. Okay, and then anything else that you want to add? Anything else you want to add? All right, who would like? Steve, do you want to lead the checkout?
Yeah, sure, Jay. I will go. It was a very much good session. And first of all, I would like
Asif.
Yes.
I'm asking you to lead the checkouts as the facilitator.
Yes, I'm doing that.
Okay.
I'm doing the same. Okay, guys. Actually, Albina, can you please, check out?
Oh yeah, for me the session was good. Can say 6. It was actually a short session. I thought it would go more than 6 hours. Anyway, it's okay. It was a rare session, Saturn session, so this is for a long-term goals. The first thing is, as an organization, we need to work as a team. That's something we need to do. And also to venture in invest to make sure we're boosted, and also to focus on our policy and goals. You know, to achieve a long-term goal, we need to have very clear objectives as an organization, and also to be self-driven, whereby you need to do what you're supposed to do at the right time and to understand what you are doing, and also to be accountable, whereby where we have a problem, it's not someone else's business, but it is my own business. So everyone to be accountable and to put our heads together to solve the problem. Like now we are facing the financial crisis. What is our solution? Our solution is to get the clients through outreach, to have investors to venture in our business. Yeah, I think that's all.
Was there anything specific that you learned today, or anything else that, like, what was your main focus of the goals, like your primary goal that you'd want to yourself work on?
Because on the methodology, also on the policies, and working on top priorities.
Okay, so for the next 15 years, your top excited thing that you're interested in the planning and the work is the methodology and policies.
Yeah, and
great.
Outreach.
Outreach. Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you, Albina.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Joycey, can you please?
Yeah. For me, I want to, for the next 15 years, I want to concentrate on same with Albina, outreach and investor relations, so that we can have source of income for our community. And also I want to concentrate also on canopy, cyber currencies, and also want to join hand in hand with FQN with a foundation that can help alleviate the people's conditions, for people's conditions. And also, what else?
Yeah, we did talk a lot in the other group about the need for universal global healthcare, what you would like.
Yeah. Yes, that would be interesting. Healthcare and also help with to employ people. If we are already stable as an organization, then we can also ask them to join us as workers. So yeah, and also what else? Yeah, cryptocurrency, cyber currencies. So we can also help Jay in the trading of cyber currencies. So we can have help in stabilizing our income also. That would help also.
So Joyce, is there anything that you learned specifically during the session, or did you want to give it a score, the evaluation score, 0 to 9?
Yes, I'll give it a 7. Mm-hmm. And I've learned that people during our discussion with our goals a while ago, I've learned to know that we workers in the organization, how we should go forward. So the organization will be here 15 years until the next Saturn session or beyond that. So if we read our goals for 15 years in our document a while ago, so you can see that are really aiming to have help in this present situation of our organization, so until the 15 years. Yeah, that's all.
All right, thank you, Joycey, and it was a really nice to hear from you. So, Lucy, can you please do the honors?
Yeah, can give it 6.5. The session was really good and it's short. You know, when we have a short sessions, we really learn more. We did not spend a lot of time. I have learned a lot, and I also learned the goals that we can spend, the goals for the next 15 years. For me, I'll just focus on system and processing to see how FQN will move from now the next 15 years. That's the only goal that I see. If we can achieve our systems and processing, everything is gonna be working. Yeah.
Awesome, Lucy, and Teresa.
Hi. So this session was really important, and I learned many things, and how the company, this organization is working to help the public. And so I think we should work on together and stay all on the same page to achieve our goals. I think we can do it, and in the next 15 years, I think we can do something better for the world. So for me, this session was really important, and I think will be it was really helpful for now and for the future for all the sessions that we will have. So for me, it's 7.
Okay, great. So, Maddie?
Yes. In this session, it was really good for knowing about the goal of 15 years.
Wait. Did we get Teresa's focus for the next 15 years? Like what she was most interested in focusing on from the plan? Like we have a lot of goals here that people could be choosing. You know, everything from sustainability to universal healthcare, and then we have the processes and systems and conflict resolution, peace, you know, all the water, that kind of stuff. But we just want to know what you're interested in the most.
Maybe organizing, maybe to be, or in the process, methodology, prioritize what is the most important things to do. Maybe to be, maybe for me to be important one thing, for the company, for the organization should be another. So I will focus more what are the main issues around. So maybe prioritize what is missing. Yeah, I think it would be the most important thing by the methodology.
Okay, cool. Just making sure. All right, Mehdi.
Yeah, Mehdi.
It was a really good session for me because I was not aware of these goals and some topics that is here. And after the session, I can understand what is the problem. Like Lucy told about us, her country has some problem with like conflict and also drought. And this session really helped us to know about the condition and about the situation of country to country. And also, I learned something like equity and network equity, also team equity. and some other things that was really helpful for me. And my score is 7. And in the next 15 years, I want to work with education. If anything I can help with education, I can help. It is very easy for me to give some support with education. And also I want to make some relation by using technology. Like we are communicating with the technology, but I want to work with this technology with a higher grade in the next 15 years. And also I want to build a relationship among network with other people to find their needs, and also how can I eradicate or just remove their problems. That's.
Did we get a score for the session? A number between 0 and 9?
7.
7. Okay.
So Joseph, please can you check out?
Yes, sure. See, my score will be 7.5, and I think for me the session was very good. It highlighted some of the most important things we should be concentrating on for the next 15 years. So if I was asked within the next 15 years, I think FQN as a community should have led a discussion in the area. Very, very broken, and it needs to live to its intended goal, which is actually freedom. In freedom, I think we know freedom as something like maybe it's free healthcare, free education to all, and if every family can have these things sorted out, free healthcare and free education, people will be inspired to follow their dreams and passions in a very revolutionary manner. So the choice of inaction in this area will be very catastrophic in some decades to come, maybe within 50 years, because population would have grown, especially in Africa. And if the population grows, that will put a lot of strain on the limited resources that we have now. And as FQN, FQN will be the best tool to bring about the desired change that we wish to see in a fairly perfect functional world. Yes.
Wow, very powerful. Thank you, Joseph. So just add which area.
Okay, and what's your score, Joseph?
7.5.
Goals.
And your area
What are you gonna
for your focus?
focusing on?
I think my goals is in the education sector and health.
Education, healthcare. Great, thanks.
Okay, so Jessica, can you please?
Okay. Today was a great session. I've learned. I'm at 7. I learned about healthcare and community empowerment, how we can help each other. My focus in the next 15 years will be on eradicating poverty and also environment and healthcare. Thank you.
Thank you. So James, can you please?
Okay. Hello guys. For those that didn't give during the session. My name is James. From Kenya. For me, the session was very great, and I feel like for me, my focus for the next 15 years, I would love to really focus on fighting corruption because for me, whatever we try to do every day in this world, we find that sometimes that because we are trying to do a lot of things, but because of the existence of corruption, we find that every effort that we are trying to make, it gets like you work twice as hard, but because of corruption, you find that whatever you are doing doesn't even count because there are certain elements of people who are trying to undermine what you do. So for me, the focus would be corruption and also universal health care. So, yeah, that's the focus for me.
Great, thank you, James.
Thank you, James. It was a really pleasure to have you in the session. Okay, now, well, for me, the session was of 7.5. I will give the score was 7.5, or rather, sorry, 8. I will give the score to 8 as I have gone through. Lucy has taken us through Plasmo, and they got a better understanding about the budget and what conditions we are over here. Well, last night I was, having a chat with my in-laws. I was just having a discussion, and we were just planning to, get the opening of 2 or 3 companies over here in Canada, which I suggested them, and they were pretty much excited about it. I am going to develop 3 companies, okay, which will be consultancy for cryptocurrency, which will be, doing 3D animations. Plus, we will do the taxes and auditing for the companies across Canada and US. And collaboratively, we will be working with FQN. We will do the partnershiping in the incoming, I think, 6 to 7 months. It will be accomplished, and we will be more than excited to partnership with FQN. And yeah, for me, my goals will be fighting against the corruption because this is the root cause of any mishap happening anywhere. So my goal will be to fight against the corruption, and I hope that we will get to the stability level as soon as possible. Check. Jay.
Great. Great. Thanks, Asif. So we definitely want to, keep prioritizing in all of our sessions the. I always forget the name of your animaxination, right?
Animaxination, yeah.
I mean, we just need to prioritize and discuss it and talk about the partnerships and make it happen. I mean, it's just very silly that we never get to it, But here he is.
Right, we should prioritize it, yeah.
It's definitely on here.
And along with that, we are opening a consultancy for cryptocurrency as well, where, we have got several suggestions. If cryptocurrency is going down, then what other sources should be there to stabilize ourselves? It is a whole new, concept. I will discuss with you, Jay. It's a good concept, and we will definitely go into more details in the future.
Cool, but let's try to figure out like the problem with the whole relationship right now is that literally the only time we ever talk about it is at the very end of the session. It doesn't make any sense. Like you have to prioritize it at the beginning of the session. Like that's the whole point of prioritizing things and bringing them into the agenda. And the fact that you never do that and you bring it out up at the very, very last minute is a problem. Like we need to somehow fix that so that we actually prioritize it at the beginning.
Yes, honestly, it's my mistake. It's always skipping my mind, but definitely I'll give a reminder now.
Okay, and also we could just schedule a session just to chat and check in on it all and make it happen. I know we have a lot of other priorities too, but we'll get around to it eventually. All right. So yeah, I would agree with the Steve. This is a really good session. You know, maybe give it like an 8, 7.98, and I learned a lot of things. I feel like one of the most things I learned is that we need to immediately consider implementing analog versions of all of our methodologies for local communities. I thought that was a really good point that Lucia brought up, that, you know, for countries and places, especially that are driven by conflict and war, that don't have technology, don't have energy, don't have, you know, computers, that we still need to bring the new economic models and bring the new methodologies in evolution and democracy to all of those communities as well. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'd say overall the top 2 for me, and there is a lot of background noise on right now. The top 2 for me is definitely, you know, I agree with the methodology and the processes and systems, because I definitely am to the point that if we don't have a clear vision of how we work together as a team, then we aren't going to be successful, no matter what we prioritize beyond that. And so we need to learn how to work better as a team together. And then the second one is I would put the environmental sustainability and building new, like cooling off the capital and building new capital resources for reducing environmental destruction. I think that is very, very, very important. So that would be my second one.
All right, great. Okay, thanks. And yeah, that's pretty much from my side.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much done. And maybe a couple people could volunteer to do the session value tracking so that it is done. If anyone wants to volunteer that, otherwise we're that's it. We're totally done. We're good to get. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Maybe you can do value tracking later, so or someone if you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we can skip it if we don't want to do the value tracking. We can use the value, but it's the Saturn session doesn't happen too often. So if someone wanted to say that they would do it and they could do it later, but just make sure that it happens, would be nice.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thank you, everybody. Bye from
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Nice.
We have a buddy team now. Buddy team session.
What's buddy team session? I mean, we should get at least an hour break.
Our level 4 buddy team session, Jay.
Okay, but there should be an hour break at least. Usually you would cancel whatever happens directly after a big session like this.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, yes, there should be at least an hour break in between the big, you know, until the next thing.
Yeah.
Okay, Jay.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you.
Whoever wants to do the value tracking, you can tell me, maybe inform on the Skype. I can help later, not now.
Okay.
Yeah, just make later.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Ciao.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.